friends, I'm Amy, a health coach and nutritionist here at Flip Your Leaf, and today we're going to talk about the low FODMAP diet. So if you've done a standard Google, you probably know that the word FODMAP sounds ridiculous because it's an acronym for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. Can we just pause for one moment and acknowledge that the A in FODMAP is for and? I don't know why, but this drives me absolutely crazy. Anyways, the low FODMAP program was created in 2005 by researchers at Monash University. These cheeky peeps had an inkling that there were several groups of food that were being poorly absorbed by many people with IBS. So they decided to group them all together under the FODMAP umbrella and see what happened when you took them all away. The results were so fantastic that the low FODMAP program was born and has been traveling around the globe helping angry tummies everywhere. Okay, so if you and your healthcare team have decided that the low FODMAP program is right for you, you might be wondering what the heck they're asking you to do and how exactly to get it done. So, first things first, the low FODMAP diet was created to help people with IBS find common food triggers. There are some other uses for the program, but that's for another video. What you need to know is that the program is completed in 3 phases. Phase 1, the elimination phase, is the part that gets the most time in the spotlight. During this phase, you'll cut out all high FODMAP foods for 2 to 6 weeks to help your gut rest and reset. Now, while there are a ton of lists and apps available to help you figure out which foods are high and low FODMAP, the one you want to use is the official Monash University app. Yes, it costs money, like a bunch of money, but Monash is the one lab testing foods to see if they're high and low FODMAP, and they'll put that information right in your hands. That means you're going to have the most up-to-date information at all times, and because they update their app constantly, most lists and apps are actually out of date almost as soon as they're published. Plus, one thing no one really talks about is that the low FODMAP diet proper isn't about good foods or bad foods. It's actually based on serving sizes. And so many of the foods that are high FODMAP, like avocados, nuts, beans, or wheat bread, have a smaller low FODMAP serving that is just fine for you, while some foods that are listed as low FODMAP actually become high FODMAP in larger servings. So it's really important to make sure that you're using the right information for your program. It just breaks my heart when I come across a client who has spent a ton of time and energy following the low FODMAP diet without actually following the low FODMAP diet. So please make sure you are using the official Monash University app as your list of high and low FODMAP foods. Okay, so you followed the low FODMAP diet, the real one, and your symptoms have settled down. Once you have completed 14 full days of elimination and your symptoms have been stable for 7 days in a row, you can move into phase 2, which is the ReChallenge phase. Now, during this phase, you'll choose one test food from each FODMAP group, there are 5, and eat it in increasing amounts over 3 days, followed by a 3-day washout period just to help reset your gut. Now, by allowing your tummy to settle down before you start testing, and by starting with a small sample of your test food and working your way up, you'll be able to see if certain groups bother you more than other groups, and you'll be able to see how you handle smaller portions versus larger portions of that group. While you're doing each ReChallenge, aside from the food that you're testing, you'll stick to your low FODMAP diet to make sure that you're testing in a clean space. Then, once you've finished each ReChallenge, you'll enter phase 3, the personalized diet. During this phase, you're going to test each food you removed from your original diet and practice mixing and matching different combinations of high and low FODMAP foods you tolerate to create a long-term diet that incorporates as much variety as possible while still keeping your symptoms consistent day to day. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, the low FODMAP program is not meant to be followed long-term. Unless you're being really intentional or you're working with a gut specialist, the low FODMAP diet is generally very low in prebiotic fiber, which can be harmful to your gut bugs if you're following it long-term. That's actually why the elimination phase is capped at 2 to 6 weeks. Following the program longer than intended can really mess up your gut bugs, which is going to make things harder for you in the long run. So make sure you're moving on from the elimination phase as soon as you are ready. Okay, let's do a quick recap. The low FODMAP diet is a short-term tool used to help people with IBS find common food triggers. The program is completed in 3 phases. In phase 1, you'll stick to a low FODMAP diet for 2 to 6 weeks. When you've completed at least 14 days of elimination and your symptoms have been stable for 7 days in a row, you're ready to move on to the ReChallenge phase. During this phase, you'll test one food from each FODMAP group in increasing amounts over 3 days, followed by a 3-day washout period. Once you've tested each group, you can move into phase 3. In this phase, you'll create a customized low FODMAP diet to follow long term and practice mixing and matching high and low FODMAP foods to create a diet that's really going to strike a balance between adding as much variety and tasty foods to your diet as possible while still keeping your IBS symptoms under control. Now, I know that is a lot of information to take in, so if you have more questions about the low FODMAP diet or you want more information about how to incorporate the low FODMAP diet into your lifestyle, I would love to invite you to my free low FODMAP mini course. Now, I designed this course to help answer questions about what to expect during the low FODMAP program, best practices to help you get the best bang for your buck, and to bust common myths that can make your low FODMAP diet much harder than it needs to be. If that sounds like something that would be helpful to you, click the link in the description below and let's get your low FODMAP diet rolling. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to learn more about the mechanics of IBS, the low FODMAP diet, and how to make your body feel like home. I'll see you in my next video.